everyone, and welcome to the RotoWire Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Dabble. I am Mike Barner. He is Kirien Sprecher, and we come to you every Wednesday to give you the information that you need to win your fantasy basketball leagues. Kirien, how are you today?
I'm doing pretty great. We had a great conversation with Alex Golden yesterday. We got some positive news on Nikola Jokic potentially returning here in the next week or so. So doing great over here, Mike.
Yeah, so you mentioned it. We're going to skip the usual news and notes segment of the podcast. We had an interview with Alex Golden late last night. He covers the Indiana Pacers for Sports Illustrated. Trade deadline's coming up. Pacers have the worst record in the NBA. We talked to him about tanking concerns, possible trades. So we're going to play that interview now. And then after that, we'll react to the interview, give you some fantasy basketball spin on it. We'll answer some questions from the chat, and we'll do the What Was That stat lines of the week. So without further ado, here is Alex Golden, Illustrated, and is the host of the Setting the Pace podcast. Alex, thank you for coming on the show. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely, guys. Thanks for having me on.
All right, so the trade deadline's coming up. So we got a lot of questions here. And maybe the biggest question, we're going to get this answered right off the bat here from Alex Golden. Let's establish this. Are the Pacers going to be a tanking team this season? We need to know this for our fantasy basketball squads. What's going to happen with Pascal Siakam and Andrew Nembhard? Are we going to see the dreaded rest days for them down the stretch?
They won't say it publicly, but just keep an eye on their minutes and how much they play. Siakam's been playing close to 35 minutes almost every night. So I would not expect the tanking to really hit hard until maybe we see some stuff dip a little bit in March. But I think for February, you'll probably see the Pacers continue to just at least play competitive basketball to a higher extent than maybe what you see come the end of the season.
So you do think maybe if we're heading towards March, obviously the Jazz, Kirien and I talk about the Jazz all the time. They wait till Christmas, and then once Christmas passes, then they just start tanking. They've done this the last two seasons. So the Pacers aren't obviously in that boat, but maybe in March we could be in trouble for them to start tanking.
That's what I would think. Obviously the record's not great. Yeah. But this is an opportunity that they don't usually have. The Pacers don't usually pick this high ever. And so the fact that they could literally land in the top three, potentially the number one overall pick in what is being considered a gap year for this team with Haliburton being out with the Achilles injury, I don't think they're stupid. So they're going to do what they have to do to ensure, in my opinion, that they get a 14% chance at landing that number one pick.
So if they're already talking about looking forward to next season, there's a big hole in this team at center. Do they try and acquire that center now at the trade deadline, or is that a position you think they address during the offseason?
I think they're going to try. There's a reason why their name has been linked to a handful of centers already throughout the rumor cycle, because they definitely have been calling. They've been looking to see who they could potentially get in a trade to upgrade at the center spot. And it might be easier to make a trade now before the trade deadline, gets here, because Bennedict Mathurin will probably have more value now than he will in the offseason, but he's their biggest trade chip as, we're currently speaking about this team. And there's probably a lot of suitors out there that would be interested in a 23-year-old guard that's averaging about 17.5 points per game. So he does have value across the league. It just depends on, does that value equal a starter level center value? And the Pacers kind of have to weigh those options.
Yeah, I was reading one of your most recent articles. You were talking about Messi as a potential target for the Pacers. You think that'd be a good fit? Obviously, he probably fits the timeline, the younger timeline, like a lot of the rest of the team.
Yeah, I think with Yves Messi, this is a guy that has really just embraced being a defensive-minded, high-motor, energy player that's got great lateral quickness as well. He's someone that can defend in space, but he's still very raw, still needs some work. For me personally, I think he's like a great backup big, can be a serviceable starter. He's not starting for the Pelicans right now because Derek Queen is starting now. An interesting fact about the Pelicans, right? If you look at their roster, I think he's second highest in plus minus this year at a -8. That's how bad the Pelicans have actually played this season. So I think that Yves Messi would fit well next to Siakam. They're both from Cameroon, and having that connection, even though I think where their countries or their cities were at in that country, about 4.5 hours away, just being able to kind of say, this is where we came from. This is our country. There's 5 Cameroonian players in the league. To have 40% of them on your roster could be interesting to kind of see that grow. But do I think he's on the same level talent-wise as Bennedict Mathurin? Probably not. But with where Mathurin's trade value is, it might be pretty close.
So yeah, thanks for coming on, Alex. Really appreciate, the insight on one team as we try to cover the entire league. A lot of little stuff goes under the rug, but you brought up Mathurin as a player that, could be used as a trade piece here moving forward. Similar to the Warriors and Jonathan Kuminga, where his trade value has just plummeted because he can't get onto the court. Do you think that there's going to be a little extended, leeway here, extra usage for Bennedict Mathurin over the next couple of weeks? He's coming off the injury. He had a pretty good game in his first game back off the bench. Do you think they're going to try to increase his value at all, or do you think his role is going to remain what it was at the beginning of the season?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do in terms of the minutes restriction they have on him currently right now. How much longer will that stay on? Will it be lifted? I think they're just going to play it safe because this hand injury is the second injury that he suffered this year. Already dealt with the toe injury in the second game of the season, and turf toe is just something that doesn't go away very easily. So I think just kind of trying to baby that as well as this thumb sprain that he was dealing with. It is smart to just really try to keep him as healthy as possible, because if he gets hurt, then obviously that's going to hurt his trade value. So him going out there and just playing is good for teams to kind of see that he's still got what he's got. Like you mentioned, he got up to a hot start against the Hawks, 16 points in that first half, but it was a tale of two halves, just 0 of 3 in the second half, didn't add any more points. So it's one of those guys where he can get really hot, but he's more of that microwave scorer than he is a guy that I personally think that can lead your team as a number one guy. But for any team being linked to him, I think they understand what his value is. And it's not going anywhere, right? I don't think it's going to plummet anytime soon. He's so young, so gifted, so raw still. But with a bigger opportunity, could he embrace, being a number 2 or number 3 guy for a team versus being kind of like a 6 man here for the Pacers? I think that would be a challenge he would welcome. And he's such a competitor, it would be good for teams to maybe invest in somebody like that.
Yeah, I think the average person kind of like sees a toe injury or, like a foot injury and kind of like, oh, they'll be fine. But when these guys are cutting and how much mileage they're putting on their feet, like those injuries really add up, and it's really hard to get, fully healthy after something like that. If I was Bennedict Mathurin's agent or anybody in the Pacers organization trying to trade him, I would just be showing that Game 7 performance against the Thunder over and over again. It'd be like, yeah, I might need a little bit more than Yves Missi for this guy. But yeah, Mathurin's been one of my favorite players. Another guy that I've been really interested in recently is Jarace Walker. I know he just popped up on the injury report. You mentioned Pascal Siakam earlier. He's been playing a lot of 5. Jay Huff is kind of, out of the rotation completely the last couple of games. Is Jarace Walker a guy that, fantasy managers should be looking at as a guy that could play big minutes on the stretch for the Pacers?
Yeah, I mean, if he's still on the roster past the trade deadline, he is someone that could be traded as well. His name has been, kind of out there in rumors as well. But if he is on the roster still, I definitely think so. I mean, Jarace Walker has been playing much, much better basketball for the Indiana Pacers. I think he had 5 steals against the Hawks, just really kind of figuring out ways to integrate himself in this system, and he's buying in, and he's talked about it. He's put in more work at the gym than maybe he was before. So I think for him, it's just a maturing thing, a maturation thing, trying to get to that level where he's becoming more of a professional versus just a young guy playing basketball. And I think for some guys, the switch is easy, but for some others, it just takes a little bit of time. And he came into this Pacers team drafted as the power forward of the future. And then all of a sudden, Indiana trades for Obi Toppin and Pascal Siakam in the same season. They change him from a 4 to a 3. And, he just tries to figure all that out. Now, he's been an elite 3-point shooter, though, his entire career, which is really awesome to see. And I think that is going to be something that sticks with him for the longevity of his career. So really good player. I would expect him to play more. And the injury was kind of out of nowhere, right? Nobody really heard anything about it until today when he was on the report. So we'll see how serious that is, but listed as questionable. It does give me a little pause for concern for maybe for the Wednesday game against the Bulls, but it doesn't seem like it'll be a long-term thing at all.
Kirien and I are both Bulls fans, so we're hoping that he takes the night off. We want to see a lot of Ben Shepherd, right, Kirien? We want to see a lot of Ben Shepherd. That's kind of a running joke, at least on my end. I don't understand why Ben Shepherd plays as much as he does. I guess that's kind of a bias. Give me your opinion. I know this wasn't a topic that we had prepped you for, but any Ben Shepherd slander I have to throw out there.
He's a 3-point shooter that's just not making 3-point shots, right?
Come on, Alex. Alex Golden, who covers the Pacers for Sports Illustrated. Please give us some Ben Shepherd takes.
So here's what I'll say. Ben Shepherd has a great looking shot that doesn't go in enough. And I will agree with you on that. It doesn't go in enough. But watch Ben Shepherd when he doesn't have the basketball. Watch how he cuts. Watch how he defends. Rick Carlisle trusts him to be in the right spots in their offense at all times. And a lot of times you'll see guys that kind of just stand around. Ben Shepherd is always moving. And yeah, there are times when he is left open in the corner for a reason. And it's because teams are saying, hey, we'll live with your 30% 3-point shooting versus Siakam inside the paint, right? Like, or Siakam like at the mid-range, because Siakam's like money from the mid-range. It's really smart for teams to kind of make Ben Shepherd beat you. Like, that's what I would do. But defensively, he can hang with some of the best when he's locked in. And we've seen it in the playoffs over and over again. No, he's not a lockdown defender, but he is a good team defender, does the right things. You know, he's one of those guys where it's like he probably means more to your team than he does to other teams. But if you're a fan of the Pacers, you've been frustrated because Ben Shepherd's gotten more run than Jarace Walker at times. But it's because if you think about it, when Mathurin got hurt 2 years ago, when the Pacers went to the Eastern Conference Finals and got swept by the Celtics, Ben Shepherd was that backup shooting guard, and he really defended well throughout 3 series. And so Rick Carlisle earned that trust of Shep, and he's yet to lose it. So he's just he's a lovable person in terms of personality-wise. But with Johnny Furphy playing the way he's playing, Jarace playing the way he's playing, I think the minutes you're going to start seeing go down for Ben Shepherd.
Yeah, Furpy's a really fun guy to watch. He's all over the court at all times. So you brought up Rick Carlisle, 10 minutes into this interview, and we have hardly talked about this Pacers team being in the NBA Finals last year, right? And Rick Carlisle being a coach that won a championship with the Mavericks and also won a championship with the Pacers, with Dirk as a lead guy and Tyrese Haliburton as a lead guy, like 2 completely different teams, focal points. Arguably one of the best coaches of our generation. What has the vibe been around this Pacers team? Is the vibe the same this year as it has been last year, as previous years? Is this like we're going to be right back in it next year? What are the natural vibes around the Pacers this season?
Yeah, I mean, I think sometimes you see the players be a little bit dejected at times just because the season was rough and they lost 13 games in a row. So let's not forget what happened during the month of December. It was woeful. They won, I think, December 8th against the Sacramento Kings, and then didn't win again until I think January 8th or around that time when they beat the Charlotte Hornets to get Rick his 1,000th victory of his career. I mean, it took him a whole month to get it. And it was just one of those things like sitting in the wing right there, like, oh, when's he going to get this win? And then it was so fun when all the videos start coming out about congrats, coach, on win 1,000. Like, how long had that been queued up by the social media teams just to post that out there? But I think everybody understands the bigger picture. Like, Haliburton's out for the year. Toppin got hurt in the 3rd game of the season. He still hasn't come back. He had, a screw put in his foot. He's potentially going to come back after February. So keep an eye on that. That could be within the next week or so. But still, I'm sure it'll take him a little bit of time to get his feet underneath him. But Nesmith missed a month. Nembhard missed some significant time early on. McConnell missed significant time with a hamstring injury. Mathurin's now missed 2 different stretches of time. Your core players have been out for the majority of the season where they're not been able to play together. So I think when you factor all that in and you're looking at who's starting for this team. Oh, Jeremiah Robinson-Earl on a 10-day hardship is starting for this team. Oh, there's Garrison Matthews. Oh, look, Ethan Thompson just signed a 2-way with the Pacers. Oh, he's starting tomorrow. Okay. That is just kind of what this team has been like. And it's the misfit, hodgepodge group of guys, but they're starting to get healthier and they're starting to play better. I think before the game against the Hawks, they were like 5-5 in their last 10. So they had been playing a little bit better, but like you said earlier, you don't want them to play too well because they got a little bit of a bigger picture in front of them there with that top.
I'm only a little disappointed you didn't mention one of my alumni guys, Micah Potter, who went to Ohio State first, but then transferred to Wisconsin and could, was barely a starter at his time in Wisconsin and now getting NBA minutes. You mentioned Obi Toppin. Is Obi Toppin a guy that fantasy managers should be looking at? Like you said, he could be coming back soon. Probably going to be really limited. Are they even going to want to really give him a full workload? What are the vibes around Obi Toppin?
I think there is a world where they'll want to see what Toppin looks like with this group, just to kind of let him shake off some of that rust from that injury, hopefully get it out of his system. That way, going into the offseason, he feels fully confident and 100% healthy. If I'm a manager, though, I'm not investing too much stock into Obi Toppin. I think there's other options out there that'll probably get you better play. But you never know. Obi Toppin can, get hot from three. We know he's a good 3-point shooter, but if you're looking at Pacers to really key in on and maybe take a swing on, I don't think I would go Obi Toppin. The Furphy rebounds could be something interesting, like we mentioned earlier. Jarace with 5 steals, that's huge. Jay Huff's been pretty good this year at blocking shots, and so those are kind of the names I would look at if you're trying to get a sleeper. Aaron Nesmith can get hot every once in a while too, but I think there's too many question marks with Toppin because Carlisle said leased out till February, which doesn't mean that he's coming back yet. So we'll have to kind of see what the timetable is for that.
Yeah, I was high on Obi Toppin. I was like, someone's got to produce it in Indiana this year, right? And he played 40 minutes in the season opener, and then got hurt a couple of days later, and that excitement went away real quick. Mike, I guess I have one more question about Haliburton. Do you have any more questions?
Nope. Ask the Haliburton question, and then we'll get Alex out of here.
So we did see a podcast appearance from Haliburton recently that said he was doing 4-on-4 or 3-on-3 work. I didn't listen to that podcast. I just saw the update that we got on RotoWire. Have you seen Haliburton working out at all? Do you know what those workouts entail? What's the timetable for Haliburton?
So I haven't actually
played this year, but the off season and stuff.
Right, yeah. So I think if you look at it from when he had the surgery to when he could be playing basketball next season, it would be close to 16, 17 months of recovery time, which is huge for a guy coming off an Achilles injury. So I think the Pacers doing the right thing, saying he will not play this year, was a smart decision, does not put any pressure on him. I mean, he definitely, I've seen him in warmups at times shooting on the court, getting shots up. It is crazy to see how much smaller his right calf is to his left or vice versa. I forget which one what Achilles he tore, if it was his right or left. I should probably know that, but I'm blanking on which one it actually is. But whichever leg it's not, it's incredibly small. And so he's got to build that muscle in that leg to get better. But in this interview that you're talking about with LeBron James on Mind the Game, it was the podcast that LeBron does with Steve Nash. Haliburton filled in as the substitute teacher for Steve Nash on this one. And it was really good to hear him say that, playing 3-on-3, 4-on-4, said he's been playing a lot versus their intern guys and their lower level or their lower minute guys. He said, but when they played with some of those lower minute guys, Mathurin, who had not come back yet from the injury, was out there playing, and Mathurin hit him with a head fake and drove right by him. And Haliburton said, yeah, I'm not ready for this. But he has put on 30 pounds and said that he's been watching Peyton Pritchard and how he attacks players and gets his bodies into guys, and that's what gets him to the free throw line, and so that he wants to kind of work on doing that a little bit more when he comes back to the league. So that'll be good just to kind of see what Haliburton, he's so smart as a basketball player, him sitting out a year, just all the knowledge he's going to absorb being in that role, I think it's going to make a huge impact for the Pacers when he's fully healthy. But yeah, he's still a ways away for sure, but it is good to see him out there getting run, and he's like, Ben, you got to test me. Don't be afraid to go at me because of my leg. I need to test myself and see where I'm at. And so this is a good, test for him to kind of see where he can push himself to. So Haliburton is one of those guys that we saw last year in the playoffs, the most magical playoff ride probably from any superstar in a long time. I mean, going 4-game winners in consecutive series, we'll never probably ever see that again. It's just so rare. But just his personality, I think the NBA misses it. He's fun. He talks trash. Pacers are fun when he plays at a high level. And, there's just something there about this Pacers team that America loves, but a lot of teams, when you're playing against them, you kind of hate them because they beat you and they talk a lot. So it's one of those good teams to have. And they were kind of America's darling last year. I don't think anybody was really outside of OKC rooting for the Thunder. Maybe the Bucks fans were rooting for the Thunder in that one, but I think even Knicks fans were hoping the Pacers win that series.
Alex, we've kept you for too long. Thank you so much. Tell the people where they can find your work. Where can we follow you on social media? Lay it all out here.
Yeah, the easiest way to find my work is just look me up on Twitter at Alex Golden NBA. I'm pretty active over there. You can find links to my podcast in my bio there, as well as all of my articles for Sports Illustrated. So really appreciate the time, and hopefully we'll be talking again soon, but about a better Pacers team than what we're currently talking about this year.
Yeah, hopefully we bring you on next year and we can talk about the players that they're looking to add as they make a push for a title. Thank you very much, Alex, for joining us. That was Alex Golden joining us to talk about the Indiana Pacers. We're thankful for having him on. Again, follow him at Alex Golden NBA on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. So, Kirien, let's react to that interview. I think the biggest thing is We've talked about this for a few weeks. The Pacers are going to be a tanking team here at some point. So it's abandoned ship if you own Pascal Siakam, Andrew Nembhard. Trade them, right, Kirien? We got to get them off our teams.
Yep, absolutely. That's definitely the sound or the vibe that Alex was giving off. I also have to apologize for saying that the Pacers won the championship last year. That was a complete fumble. Carlisle did win a championship with Dallas, and taking this Pacers team to the championship, taking the Thunder to Game 7, definitely felt like they won a championship, but they did not, in fact, go on the record books for that. So I just had to amend that point quick, Mike. Apologize for that. I was trying to hype up the Pacers a little bit too much, but that was a really fun team. And yeah, like Alex said, Jarace Walker is an interesting piece. We have to see what this foot bruise turns out to be. And he likes a couple, like Johnny Furpey could be a big guy that gets a bunch of stats because he's so active. That Pacers are definitely going to be a tanking team, and like he said, their eyes should be set on getting as good of draft odds as they can get.
I don't know if you have a roster spot to play with. This Missy stuff, he had it in a couple of his articles. I've seen a lot of rumors about him being traded. The Pelicans, they don't reportedly want to shop Trey Murphy and some of those key guys, but Missy is someone they could trade because they have Queen now. So there's no really need to hold on to Missy. Man, if he lands on the Pacers, he's going to play right away this season because he's the perfect guy to put on a tanking team to put right. Man, he'd be a guy I'd be stashing. What about you, Kirien?
Yeah, I think that's a totally fair play. And, even for players, fantasy managers that are in dynasty leagues, if Yves Missy all of a sudden goes from playing with Jordan Poole and Trey Murphy to playing with Tyrese Haliburton next season, he might get a lot more efficient offensively, and he's always been a pretty good rebounder.
Yeah, definitely. So again, thanks again to Alex Golden at Alex Golden NBA. Give him a follow. Read his articles on Sports Illustrated. Take a listen to his Pacers podcast. Great guest. We're very happy to have him on. Now we're going to jump into the chat here, answer some questions. We'll do our normal what was that stat lines of the week. But first, a word from our friends at Dabble. Dabble isn't just another DFS app. It's the ultimate social platform where you can connect with other fantasy sports lovers. Dabble lets you win big. You can win up to 5,000 times your money this basketball season. Starting with Dabble is easy. New users get $25 free when signing up. No deposit necessary. Check out the link in the episode description below to download Dabble now. All right, Kirien, we got a lot of questions here in the chat. Thank you, everyone watching, for throwing in the questions. Let's see how many we can answer.
Valio says 10 teams points league. Drop Tatum to move Evan Mobley to IR. Added Max Christie. Other options on waiver wire are Dylan Brooks, Sadiq Bey, Bilal Coulibaly, Yusuf Nurkic, PJ Washington, Keita, Kamara, Colin Murray Boyles, and Pods. Who's best for the next 1 to 3 weeks? This is why I get into trouble when we're talking about 10-team leagues, Mike, because a lot of these guys I would not be sniffing the waiver wire in a lot of my leagues. I really like Max Christie, but there's a couple of really good options out there. Dylan Brooks he might be getting suspended for getting all these technical fouls soon, but great. Devin Booker's out. Jalen Green is still dealing with that hamstring injury. Sadiq Bey has been pretty solid, but now, Herbert Jones is back. Bey's still starting. Nurkic, when he plays, he's a triple-double threat, but he could be rested at any other night. You never really know. Are any names jumping out here to you?
Yeah, the Brooks is the one that jumps out to me. Like you said, Booker's out at least a week. This one might be you're talking 1 to 3 weeks. So, if you want to project out 3 weeks, then you got to look at the schedule. It could be where one of these guys plays 2 or 3 more games than the other guy that you like the most, and then that's the tiebreaker for you. But without looking that far ahead and nitty-gritty into the schedule, I think Brooks would be first for me. Keita's hurt. He would have been a good one in a points league, but he's hurt right now, so I think I'd stay away from him. Murray Boyles, I would love him, but I don't trust the Raptors with injuries. They just tell you a guy is out, and then everybody's day-to-day, and then 2 weeks later, they're still out, and there's no updates. So I think Brooks would be the top name for me on this list.
Cool. Sounds good. I agree with that. I really like Christie's upside, but right now, Brooks, the production is just too hard to argue with. P-Dub says, 10-team 9-cat, is PJ Washington a hold, or is it better to stream his spot?
I'd stream it. I don't think you need to hold PJ Washington in a 10-team league. Yeah. There's probably, we just saw some of the options that were available in a 10-team league. So I would take advantage of hefty schedules and I'd stream that spot.
Yep, I agree with that. When he's been available, he's produced well, and there's an opportunity for PJ Washington to produce well, but there's no reason for him to play a ton of games down the stretch. And so that kind of is a big turnoff. And like Valio's question, I would say PJ Washington was pretty far down that list of guys. Dylan Brooks, Sadiq Bey, Nurkic, and then CMB. I would probably take over PJ Washington too, even though he's hurt right now. Wemby says, "Hi guys, if you think it is necessary for me to drop one, who should I drop? Moussa Diabate, Cardwell, Pods, PJ, and Eason. Which one would you drop to bring along Malik Monk and Ty Jerome when he is back? 9-cat 12 team. Are you dropping any of these guys from Malik Monk or Ty Jerome?"
I mean, I don't trust Monk until we see if he gets traded, so that's a no. And then Ty Jerome, I mean, when's he coming back? He's going to be eased in, I'm sure, for a long time. Cam Spencer has been great, so there's no need to rush Ty Jerome back into a ton of minutes. I don't know. I'm not excited about either Monk or Jerome.
I'm intrigued by Ty Jerome, just because they gave him a big contract, and he hasn't even played for the Grizzlies yet. So I feel like he's going to get some PT down the stretch, but that really is all contingent on Ja Morant getting traded, right? Yeah. If Ja Morant stays on this team, Ty Jerome is not fantasy valuable. And then the Malik Monk situation, he was really only brought back into the rotation because of other injuries, and now he's injured himself. I'm not really trusting Sacramento right now. I would say Pods. I think Pods has a higher upside than both of those guys just because of the Jimmy Butler injury right now. And Cardwell is a specialist. He's a rebounder, blocks guy, right? That he's going to get you rebounds and blocks. Diabate is somewhat similar, more defense production. And Tari Eason has been really solid. So yeah, I think you just got to roll with this. A lot of PJ Washington questions though, Mike. Another one from Wemby. PJ Washington or Jarace Walker. I think I would rather be on Walker depending on what this injury is tonight. If he gets ruled out, you just got to go with PJ. But
I think this kind of depends on what you need. I think Washington is going to get you a higher floor. So if you're looking for a safer option, I'd go with Washington. Walker, I don't know. I'm worried about the Pacers. I mean, Alex has talked about even Walker's in trade rumors, so I'm not sure. He'd be the only guy we talked about when you mentioned him as a stash guy in an episode a few weeks ago. He's like the only guy in the Pacers that's kind of exciting as a stash, which says a lot about the Pacers more than it does Walker, I guess. But I think I'd rather have Washington. This is one of the few where I take Washington.
Okay, yeah, I think they're both streaming candidates at this point. But yeah, and it's just what you would rather need. Tony Fit, DeAndre Ayton. Would you rather have DeAndre Ayton or Jalen Smith? Ayton has been bad. Mike, the floor is yours.
I love this. Jalen Smith, because Jalen Smith will also get you 3-pointers. Jalen Smith has been pretty good at blocking shots. And Jalen Smith is going to play a lot for a Bulls team that is right where they want to be in the 9th spot in the Eastern Conference. They have to hold on to that home play-in game. So Jalen Smith is going to play a lot. Zach Collins is out through the All-Star break. Austin Reeves is going to be coming back relatively soon, I believe. And Rui Hachimura is back. And Rui Hachimura has been great since he came back. So I think he could even steal a few minutes from Ayton when they want to go a little smaller. So I'd rather have, as crazy as this might sound, I'd rather have Jalen Smith.
I feel like you were almost pushing this a month ago, where you were on the Jalen Smith hype train, and these other centers, DeAndre Ayton, maybe throw Jared Allen in there. Nick Claxton has been okay. Jakob Poeltl. They aren't producing at an elite enough level where some of these backup centers are more consistent and more reliable. Jalen Smith has been very consistent so far. So yeah, I think I'd rather have Jalen Smith, but I always say this with Ayton. Yeah, he's going to have the 4 points, 6 rebound type of games, and then he's going to have 25 and 13. He did miss one of the games of a back-to-back recently. I think it was the first half of a back-to-back, and then had a 20-point double-double in the next one. So, yeah, I don't like to mess around with that type of fire. So, yeah, I would rather roll with Jalen Smith. Mike, we have some major breaking news here.
All right, let's do it.
Giannis Antetokounmpo has, the Bucks are finally starting to listen to offers. on him.
Oh boy.
I don't know how much of this is actually breaking news. I feel like Shams has had this same report like 4 times already.
That's
this
how you
season.
get aggregated right there.
Yeah,
That's boost that.
But Giannis is apparently ready for a new home, and the Bucks are willing to listen to offers. So as we've reported, or as we said many times before, this was bound to happen.
So he hasn't officially demanded a trade,
No,
but he is open to a trade, which is basically, I don't want to be here anymore, but I don't want to say I don't want to be here anymore because I am arguably the most beloved Milwaukee Buck in franchise history. And you know what, guys? That's okay. He brought a championship to the Milwaukee Bucks. They paid for that championship in terms of draft capital and everything. And now the future is bleak. And the best way to turn the franchise around is to get 3 really good players and 5 draft picks and swaps and all those different things. So it's going to hurt. And if you're a kid, it stinks.
Yeah.
Because you love Giannis and he's your favorite player and you've got his jersey and it stinks for the kids. But if you're an adult and you have long-term vision and plan, it's probably the best thing for the Bucks. Don't you think, Kirien?
Yeah. The best thing for the Bucks long-term was doing this before they signed Miles Turner, if we're being honest.
The Miles Turner's thing was a Hail Mary that fell short at the 15-yard line.
Yes, that is a great comparison. Yeah, it's time to move on, and the longer they wait, the less of a return they're going to get. And like you said, he seems to have this all shucks, like, I don't want to be the bad guy in this situation, but your agent works for you, Giannis. You can't just say my agent is demanding a trade and I'm not. If you don't want him to say that, then you tell him not to say that. So that's my 2 cents on that. This Bucks team has fewer wins than the Hornets. The only time Giannis, they haven't gotten out of the first round in a long time. Giannis continues to miss games and they just they're not built to withstand those missed games. He still plays, it's still eligible for all the awards, but he misses 10 15 games every season. The only time he hasn't missed more than 15 games since 17-18 was 3 years ago when he got hurt in the playoffs and missed the first round of the playoffs. So it's just really, there's just too much pressure on him in Milwaukee. He needs to go to a team with another star where he doesn't have to carry that workload. Like you said, it sucks for the kids. But this trading Giannis is the best thing for both parties, in my opinion.
So before we move on to the what was that stat lines of the week, Kirien, I'm putting you on the spot.
All right.
Where does Giannis get traded to?
Oh, where is he going to, or where would I have?
Give a bold prediction of where you think he'll end up.
Okay.
Now the teams with the most assets are the Thunder.
Yeah.
And the Spurs.
Yep.
They have the most assets.
Yeah. And for me, I think the from a fan perspective, I really wanted the Spurs, just because Giannis Wemby would be, crazy fun to watch. And then them going up against the Thunder, I feel like that would finally be fair. And then in that kind of trade, the Spurs could ask for, Stephon Castle or Dylan Harper, maybe Fox, they're Devin Vassell, Jeremy Sohan. Like, the Spurs have so many picks and so many good young players that, Dylan Harper on the Bucks would be really, really fun. And then that's not even to mention what all the picks that they could get. So the Spurs have been like the team that I wanted to trade for Giannis since, this past offseason. The team where I think he's going to get traded to is the Knicks. And I think it's going to be a Cat. Get rid of Cat, shed that salary, and bring in Giannis. I don't know where the picks are going to come from. I have no idea the logistics behind that, but I think that the Knicks are going to do whatever they can to make that happen. I think there's a lot of truth behind, Giannis's family spends a lot of time in Greece, and New York has the only airport that has a direct flight to Greece. Apparently, that was a Windhorse nugget from a couple of months ago. So I think New York is what I don't want to happen, but what I think is going to happen. And I think the Spurs would be the best for all parties, the Spurs, the Bucks, and the NBA, in general, and all of us fans. But I don't see that happening.
So you don't think the Bucks would take Noah Essengay and 5 picks between number 14 and 16 in the draft for the next 5 years for the Bulls? You don't think that's a possibility?
Yeah, Giannis, you only have to move your family 90 miles, man. Come on.
Yeah. The Bucks would like that. all those early teens picks and Noah Essengay.
Do you remember when Giannis almost killed Mike Dunleavy in his first playoff appearance? Yeah.
And now it's time for the What Was That stat lines of the week. Kirien, you are up first.
All right, so this is a tough one for me. I was pretty hard on him early in the season when injuries started to hit Denver. I said Peyton Watson was only a defensive guy. Scored 35 points, career high against Washington last Thursday. Extremely efficient, 10 for 16 from the field, 6 for 8 from deep, 9 for 10 from the free throw line. He also continued to stuff the stat sheet, 8 boards, 3 assists, 4 blocks, 2 steals. Third game with at least 30 points in January, 4th overall this season. Since December 31st, Peyton Watson is averaging 22 points, 6 boards, 3 assists, 1.5 blocks, 1.2 steals, shooting 49% from the field, over 40% from 3, and 75% from the free throw line. It's incredible to see him continue the defensive production while he is also handling increased offensive opportunities. A lot of times, when a young player is in a rotational role, they get the defensive stats, they get the hustle stats because they don't get the ball in them as much, right? And then once you start seeing them mature and get more involved offensively, the energy wanes on the defensive end. That's just a natural progression of things. So Watson increasing his usage, scoring at a super efficient rate while also doing everything defensively has deserved a what was that, especially with that career high 35 points.
Yeah, Peyton Watson has been fantastic. My what was that stat line of the week is on the opposite end of the spectrum. On January 26th, Tyrese Maxey, 76ers superstar, scored 6 points in a 130-93 loss to the Charlotte Hornets. No, not the Houston Rockets. No, not the Oklahoma City Thunder. Tyrese Maxey scored 6 points against the Charlotte Hornets. What was that? He went 3 for 12 from the field. He played just 25 minutes in the blowout loss. Kelly Oubre Jr. was the only member of the 76ers who scored at least 10 points, a starter who scored at least 10 points. That's pretty scary. The first game that Maxey scored single digits this season, only the 4th time that he scored fewer than 20 points in the game this season. Now, Embiid and Paul George didn't play in that game, so I guess it's not a huge surprise that they lost to the 76ers. But, man, Tyrese Maxey, 6 points? What was that?
This was going to be the one that I was going to pick. VJ Edgecombe also had a horrible game in this one. Paul George and Joel Embiid were out, and it was a blowout real fast. This Sixers team is certainly interesting. I want to say that they're good, but it's going to be difficult to say that until they sustain success. But this, it seems to be Tyrese Maxey and VJ Edgecombe win them some games, and then it's Joel Embiid and Paul George win them some games. We have yet to see all four, like the whole team coalesce for an extended period. So we'll see if that can happen after the All-Star break. But this was definitely a step in the wrong direction for Tyrese Maxey and VJ Edgecombe.
And that is the end of today's RotoWire Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Dabble. Again, you use promo code YouTube15 to get 15% off any subscription on rotowire.com. We will be back to you next Wednesday, which is the day before the NBA trade deadline. So Kirien and I will hopefully have some trades and some rumors to talk about. And before we officially close out today's show, again, we want to give a thanks to Alex Golden of Sports Illustrated for helping us and jumping on, talking about the Pacers and giving us guidance. Make sure you go and follow him at Alex Golden NBA on Twitter and X.
Yeah, absolutely. Have a good one, everybody. Good luck with your fantasy teams.